Is it fair to say an embattled Jerod Mayo at this point? Is that unfair to pin him with that? I feel like it's not.
No, I think this week he became embattled.
He's embattled now.
Yeah.
He's
taking on
doing it
water
enough times. I'd say that's
he's bailing out the boat, but there's still water coming in.
Absolutely, absolutely.
He's the key. Be bailing. Hey, Jerod, you're supposed to pour the water out of the boat, not back in the same boat. Oh,
true.
Okay.
That's all right. I'll walk that back tomorrow. Jerod Mayo having a rough week, certainly, and it's only Wednesday. We'll get to all of the drama surrounding him today. A lot of questions to him, to other players on the team. Drake Maye spoke about their support for the head coach. I feel like there's a lot of that going on right now. A lot of support for our coaches. A lot of, Alex Van Pelt, we already smoothed everything over. Everything's fine, Keyshawn Booty, all of that. I feel like there's been a lot of backtracking, a lot of overcompensating maybe is another way of putting it, but I do think that was the general vibe down at Foxborough today. We will get into what was said there. There's also a report from Tommy Kern that was on Early Edition last night that Mike Vrabel would be interested in coming over and coaching the Patriots, which, that's interesting. The Patriots have a coach. I wonder why he'd be interested in a job with a team that already has their coach in place in his first year, when there are other teams out there that currently don't have a coach. I didn't hear about him being interested in the Jets job, in the Saints job, who else fired their coach this year? Not the Raiders. Who's the third one?
The Raiders.
The Bears. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The Raiders probably will. Or the Bears. I didn't hear him talking about that, but he's interested in coaching the Patriots, which is interesting. A lot of weird tweets about that. And we wanted to follow up a little bit on the Crafts, as I think I don't know if there's been new information, but yesterday we were struggling a little bit to remember the point in the game in which they showed the Crafts and had the whole play calling sucks thing. We went back and found it, and I think that makes it more interesting based on the time in the game when that happened, because it wasn't a bad time in the game for the Patriots offense. They were moving. It was that field goal drive. They were moving down the field. It did stall out at the end, and they did express some frustration with that, but it certainly wasn't their worst drive of the game, I'll tell you that. It wasn't the worst thing the offense did all day long. So if that's what they were doing, if they're sitting there grumbling over that drive, I can't imagine what they were saying the rest of the game. So we'll get into all of that as well, but let's go ahead and start with Jerod Mayo. Says he doesn't know where the story came from about his job potentially being in danger, said that he has daily communications with the Crafts and that they're very supportive. Do you believe him?
Yes, I believe that he has daily communications. I believe he said multiple conversations daily, so they check in at various points, because Jonathan's like, I turned the page in the notebook. I forgot there was one more page of notes I forgot to go over, and they talk about everything each and every day, which, good thing, bad thing, is a side topic here.
Right.
I believe his job is now in question. I do. And I know this is not groundbreaking. I know Bert Breer said this. I think a lot of us that have been around the NFL for a long time, and I'm not blowing smoke up our asses. We're not in the NFL. We're not special. But when we heard that, and we've been around locker rooms 10, 20 years, coaches, teams, that felt like a record scratch moment. Like, did you just throw your offensive coordinator under the bus?
Yeah.
When you should be worried about your own job, not, looking out for yourself by covering your ass and throwing him to the wolves.
And also acting like you don't have final say in the decision-making on this team, or the head coach. All of it was bad.
There were a lot of layers to that, and even though we are supposedly numb to Jerod Mayo saying something and then
not numb enough.
Not numb enough. not nearly numb enough. That was, I called it in the postgame show. We run Jerod Mayo live, and I immediately said that was his worst mistake, and it was Bush League, because it was personal. Whether he thinks he intended to do whatever, it doesn't matter what he intended.
Right.
It's the way the world receives it. And the world almost universally said, he just threw Alex Van Pelt under the bus. The nice guy who, people then added on, is the best coach on this team. Kind of like the receiver position. You have a number one. That doesn't mean you are a number one. Doesn't mean he's a great offensive coordinator. But in terms of jobs being done, Alex Van Pelt is the best coach on this team. And I would also, by extension, we have Drake Maye audio defending May and defending Van Pelt. They are not the same. Just like they aren't the same. We heard him on Monday. He did it on the radio. He didn't name the show, but he remembered he was on the radio when he answered it. When he defends AVP, in my opinion, it's natural and passionate. When he says things about Jerod Mayo, is perfunctory the word? It's what he's supposed to do.
Perfunctory.
I believe it's perfunctory.
Look at that. I'm going to look that up.
And
I should know this.
It's like when he defends the linemen. They're working their butts off out there. He doesn't really think the line is good.
An action or gesture carried out with minimum effort or reflection.
I'm not sure that's right, so let's scratch that from the record.
I think that kind of matches what you were saying.
Kind of, but
he says it because he feels like he has to say it.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Performative,
to
maybe?
be a good soldier.
Yeah.
But his first comment for Jerod Mayo is, he's a rookie coach.
Right.
It's basically admitting he's not doing a very good job.
Yeah, this is going terribly.
Making a lot of
come on.
mistakes. But
Right.
you got to give him, a little bit of rope here. He's a rookie. AVP, it's, the things he's done for my career and the way he emphasizes this and emphasizes that, and he's really done this, and he's done. Like, he has specific details of why AVP is doing a good job with the guy who we all said was most important for this entire season, Drake Maye.
Yep.
So, Drake Maye and AVP, I think there's a unique bond. I think it's a little bit more performative when he defends Mayo.
I think you might be onto something there. I do also wonder, though, if it just has to do with the management structure and the way that the coaches are all sort of lined up and everything. Is it the offense is the way it was with McDaniels and Mac Jones, for example? Those two were like this, It was every time he'd come back to the sideline, here comes McDaniels, and they're right there talking. Like, this is an organization, and Jerod Mayo learned from Bill, where he just leaves the offense to the offensive coordinator. So there isn't that same kind of relationship with the head coach and the quarterback, which, by the way, I thought was lousy at the end with Belichick and Mac Jones.
Yep.
That thing deteriorated to the point where it was completely dysfunctional. Now, I don't think that's happening here. I don't think there's an adversarial relationship between Mayo and Drake Maye. I think Mayo, at the very least, recognizes, hey, this guy's coming to play every week. This guy's a lone bright spot on a team that really doesn't have very many other than, Gonzalez over on the defensive side. And I think he grasps that at the very least. Like, how could you not? But in terms of the relationship, is Maye going to go to bat for him the way he does for Alex Van Pelt? I don't think he interacts with him the way he interacts with Alex Van Pelt.
No, he doesn't. He did throw in at one point, and Coach Mayo does coach me up sometimes, and that's pretty cool for a rookie coach, especially a defensive coach, whatever. Right. But the other thing that comes into my mind is I don't know a ton about Mac Brown. I really don't. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know he's been a long-time head coach at the college level. He won the national title with Vince Young at Texas, two tours of duty through UNC. But I got to think he's pretty consistent at 73 years old. I got to think he's pretty entrenched in his ways.
You know who he passed for the most wins in UNC football history?
Should I?
Dick Crum.
Oh, old Dick Crum.
I did not make that up.
I believe that's an STD. I don't think you want to have crumbs down there.
Yeah, you don't want to pass Dick Crum.
Well, I mean, depends how they got there, I guess.
It's true.
It's like the NY Post story, Andy, we saw earlier in show prep.
Yes, that's a totally different story.
Well, I don't know what that is, but okay.
You might learn about it later.
You just said you don't know a lot about Mac Brown. I just gave you a nice fun fact
but
right
Mac
there.
Brown
Mac Brown, Dick Crum.
And is an entrenched long-term head coach at the college football level. I'm guessing he carried himself in a pretty consistent way.
Probably, yeah.
What he believed in, what he did.
Especially at the end of his career,
Right.
Yeah, of course.
And now Maye is coming into this, a guy who's at the beginning of his career, absolutely, but is probably inconsistent. He even said something about, we all support him and his little sayings he has. Felt a little dismissive.
Yeah.
His little. Anytime you add little, like you got a little radio show. You're a little host one.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm not sure that's a compliment,
It's a nice
Andy.
little career you've got for yourself
Right,
there,
exactly.
right? Like,
when
thanks.
you say he's got his little sayings that we kind of like, I'm not sure you do. You laugh them off. You might roll your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think the bond and the support, in a weird way, seems stronger for AVP, certainly from the quarterback, but maybe from all of us, maybe from everybody involved. And that's another layer to me of, wait, you're going to scapegoat that guy who the quarterback loves and people seem to think doing a good job? Yeah. I'm not sure anybody is supporting Mayo right now. That's why I do think, for the first time all year, this week, the seat got a little hot.
Yeah, I think the seat is pretty hot. Speaking of scapegoating people, Jerod Mayo, God bless him, had a tough one today, too. He was asked about certain players and mistakes that are getting made and things that people are saying. And he starts off by saying, listen, I'm not going to talk about specific players, and then just take a listen.
Have you seen an issue with that at all with Keyshawn this year?
I'm not going to talk about specific players. I think we all have to get better. For me, you talk about booty, it's get open and catch the ball. I mean, that's your job as a wide receiver. A receiver's in the title of your job description, and that's our expectation.
What was that, 5 seconds, maybe?
Rick James didn't turn around that fast about grinding his feet into Eddie Murphy's couch. Like, that was unbelievable. I don't know if Dan knows that reference or not, but on the Chappelle Show, there's this Rick James sketch where Rick James, when he was still alive, obviously, was narrating a time that he went over to Eddie and Charlie Murphy's house, and he walked in, he had these cowboy boots on, they were all muddy, and he grinded his muddy boots into the couch. And then did Charlie Murphy and Eddie Murphy beat him up. And then
That's how I'm living.
They asked him about it later. Nice place. They asked him about it later, and he's like, come on, I have a little more sense than that. I wouldn't just go grinding my boots into someone's couch. And then he pauses and he goes, Yeah, I remember grinding my boots into Daddy's couch. I remember doing that. That's exactly what Jerod Mayo just did. That was full Rick James. Come on. I'm not going to talk about specific players, but Booty's got to catch the ball. Come on, man. And come on, just one day. Can we go one day? Can we have one of those little charts that's like 0 days since an incident? Jerod Mayo's last incident? Is that, you'd have to be updating it constantly, but holy moly. You'd have to reset it constantly, But this is just, it's almost pathological with this guy.
It is. Now, I will say we're looking for it. If Bill Belichick said that same thing, I don't know if we would latch onto it, but because we know the history of putting his foot in his mouth, stepping in it, retracting it, it is almost laughable. It is. Did Coach Stacey tell you not to get into specific players? If he did, you're terrible at it. You couldn't finish the sentence when you said you didn't want to get into specific players. I do wonder what Stacey is literally thinking when he watches these. Because Stacey, I don't know if you've been to a Patriots press conference when Stacey's off to the side. He's always got a notebook.
I've never been present for one. I've never been in the doors. No.
He's always off to the side. Mm-hmm. He's always taking notes. I think some of it is almost attendance, like which outlets are here, how many cameras we have today. But I can only imagine what he's thinking when Jerod starts a sentence with, I don't want to talk about specific players, but really Booty has to get open and catch the football.
But, Kayshawn, come on. And that's who he was asked about. He asked him specifically about Kayshawn Booty. And his heart was in the right place. It's like his brain knew to say, hey, no, no singling people out. I got to get better about that. I can't just be throwing people under the bus. I can't be blaming everybody. And then he just can't help himself.
His instincts are terrible.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is.
Yeah.
You know how they say you revert to your training in times of stress, the military believes that? Mm-hmm. He knows what he's supposed to do. So he started it with what Stacey has beaten into him, but his instincts are not that. His heart is not in it. Belichick's instincts were in it, right? It's the opposite. Belichick's instinct is to never say anything.
Right.
He even you could say good Tuesday out there, Bill, and he's thinking, how do I not answer this? Or is it Tuesday? What's this? What's the angle on this question? Whereas Jerod has been told, don't talk about specific players. And now he can't finish the sentence with that. And he literally, I think, used the word talking. I don't want to get into specific players, but talking about Booty, I'm sure Stacey said don't talk about players, and you're using the word talking about Booty.
Yeah. He can't help himself.
We're far enough into it. There's no rookies anymore. I said this earlier in the week. They say it about players. We have to say it about him. He has been, I'm guessing Stacey has invested a lot of hours in trying to coach up Jerod Mayo. He told us.
Coach Stacey
said, talk about the Jets, or whatever week that was. And there is just no progression.
No, he's off the rails. He's
not about Booty.
It's almost like he's right when he says we just need to win. He's right, because if he was 11-2 right now, this would be funny.
Oh yeah, no one would care about this.
No, but we would notice
talk about it, but we wouldn't care about it. Yeah, right.
It'd be like it's just Jerod being Jerod out there.
That's funny.
But when you're 3-11. It's not funny.
And it's not the end of the world. Calling out Kayshawn Booty for being a jackass this past weekend isn't the worst thing you can do. I don't think that Mayo should get in the habit of that, especially with him throwing Van Pelt under the bus on Sunday. But listen, he's called the team soft before. He's called guys out before, and I didn't really think it was that big of a problem. It's when you start calling out the other coaches and shirking responsibility. If you call out Kayshawn Booty, that's not you shirking your responsibility. That's saying my player has to play better. You should also include I should coach better and whatever else. That's what Belichick used to always do. We got to coach better, play better, do this better, do that better. But we all have to do it. He hasn't quite grasped that part of it. And you don't have to be just like Bill Belichick, but you have to pick a lane. You can't say I'm not going to single people out and then immediately turn around and single people out. It's got to be one or the other.
Also, I'd have much more respect for him if he actually did call AVP out and said, you know what, we've actually had multiple meetings about wanting to run Drake more. I'm not really sure why that's not coming to fruition, but he did it in sort of a sleazy, passive-aggressive...
Hey, what am I supposed to do?
Weak-ass way.
Yeah.
So I'd have more respect if he just wants to be big balls and wants to put him on the table and say, this is my damn team, and I've been telling the damn offensive coordinator, run the quarterback, and he's not listening. We got a freaking problem here. But to do it in the way he did was it was conduct unbecoming of a leader.
Yeah.
To me, that's the issue there. It's not the phrase. He undercut himself as a leader of a group of men, of a football team. And once you do that, I think it's hard to recover from.
Yeah, I agree.
That's way harder to recover
especially when you suck, especially when the team's terrible.
But that can turn around.
Right.
But will they forget this? Will they forget these things when they start winning? I don't know. I don't know if AVP will. I don't know if Booty will. I don't know if some of these other guys will.
Well, hopefully there's a whole new group of wide receivers next year. We won't have to worry about that.
Bruins were winning, and they didn't forget Cassidy throwing them under the bus.
True.
They took it personally.
They did.
They carried baggage and receipts with them. right? So they were winning
they
games.
They didn't win, but they were a good team.
Well,
Yeah.
I got a little something to tell you. Even if Jerod turns things around a little bit, they ain't going to win for a long, long time.
It's true. I don't even
win.
They got Buffalo coming up. They got 2 games against Buffalo. I wonder how long it's going to take for anybody to knock Buffalo off the top of the AFC East. I think they're going to be there for a good long time.
Wait, I thought the window was closed. That's what everybody told me.
What, for the Bills?
Yeah, because Allen's contract kicked in,
yeah.
and then they had to trade Diggs. The window's closed.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any talent around him. What's he going to do it all? Yeah, he actually is.
The window's wide open. The window is now a garage door, and it's wide open. By the way, Tommy Curran, as we mentioned, who will join the show tomorrow. We have a big guest day today, of course. Adam Schefter at 3:45 and Scal at 4 o'clock. Curran last night reported that Mike Vrabel would be interested in coaching the Patriots. Stiz, we have that.
You brought it up the other day and said, Vrabel, you're going to get one shot at him here in New England. Would you leap at him? Would you clear the decks for Mike Vrabel? Because I'll add this. I'll add this. Mike Vrabel would be interested in coaching for the New England Patriots. I think that he looks at the Patriots, despite the warts that they've shown, and says, I'd go back there.
Okay. Couple of things. Number one, I believe Tommy Curran when he reports that. I think he's getting that. That sounds like he's getting that pretty direct from the horse's mouth, or at least someone very close to said horse. I think Mayo has been a total mess this year. But everybody making Mike Vrabel out to be the savior for this team, I think, is actually kind of funny. Like,
you hate Vrabel.
I think Vrabel would be better than Mayo. I do think he'd be better than Mayo. But he flamed out pretty hard in Tennessee and then couldn't even get a coordinator job after that. Like, he does not have very high standing in the NFL right now, let alone head coach. And this was despite the whole world insisting, just like they did with Belichick, that this guy is going to be some major coaching free agent, not even a coordinator job. Now, maybe he didn't want a coordinator job, but he ended up with nothing. So, I don't know. I saw Jerry Thornton over at Barstool, a former guy here, say that Curran is reporting Mike Vrabel would be interested in coaching the Patriots. The very fact the guy who has all the options is willing to take such an undesirable job means you hire him ASAP and consider yourself lucky. And I just wonder, what options does he have? He had 0 options last year. He went to go be a personnel consultant in Cleveland. Like, he might be willing to take this undesirable job, because he doesn't have any other options. And I think it's kind of like with Vrabel, he had some success in the league. So again, I think he'd be better than Mayo, and he should get another shot at some point. But does it have to be here? Like, does it have to be the team that's rebuilding around their 23-year-old quarterback and has to build an offense around him from nothing? Like, can we bring in someone who specializes in offense instead of another ex-linebacker that the owners like? I'm tired of this. I'm tired of seeing this work. And I've ripped the Crafts over and over for being timid and not willing to sort of go outside their comfort zone if they want to rebuild the organization. But I'm starting to wonder, the fans seem to really want Mike Vrabel. And I just look at Mike Vrabel as a slightly better version of Jerod Mayo, who doesn't really help you when it comes to this offensive problem.
So I get your hesitancy. First of all, I don't know the inner details of what his options were last year. I'm guessing he thought he was a head coach and didn't have a head coaching option. And that's why he said, well, if I'm not going to be a head coach, I'm not just taking a coordinator job.
Well, why didn't he have a head coaching option? He was such a hot free agent.
That's a great question. I haven't delved into every job opening and why he would or wouldn't be. But to compare him to Mayo is ridiculous. I mean,
I just thought he'd be better than Mayo.
No, but it's not even close. He coached in college. He coached as a position coach, coordinator, head coach in the NFL in multiple cities. He made the jump from Houston as a coordinator to Tennessee as a head coach. He won NFL Head Coach of the Year. His defenses in Tennessee, I was looking, were always in the top half in points allowed. He very consistently had good defenses. His downfall was the same, in my opinion, as everybody else's downfall when you're a coach, quarterback. You hitched your wagon to Ryan Tannehill, which I thought was stupid. When they got him and then gave him $110 million, whatever the hell it was.
Right.
It was predictable to me that it was going to crash
down. And they were
down.
winning games because of Derrick Henry, not because of Ryan
You had
Tannehill,
Derrick Henry. That's great luxury in this league.
A.J. Brown. But yeah.
And then the A.J. Brown thing was the beginning of the end for the franchise because they disputed internally what they wanted to do. They had some issues there. Traded A.J. Brown, thought they were going to do the Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson. Oh, we'll just draft another receiver in the first round, not miss a beat. They missed a beat because the guy they took was a Jag, the guy out of Arkansas, I think. So do I think he's a slam dunk to get a job this year? Yes, I do. I absolutely
get a head coaching job.
Yeah, and it's one of the questions I had on my radar for Schefter when we talked to him at 3:45. He says 7 to 9. He's pretty sure there's going to be 7, could be as many as 9. I will be stunned if there's 7 head coaching jobs, and I don't care defense, offense, old guy, young guy, whatever. if he doesn't get offered a head coaching job.
I think that he probably will get offered a head coaching job. I think that everybody's saying, yeah, bring him to New England. He's perfect to come here to New England. I just don't get that. I don't understand
he might
why
be perfect for
that.
them.
For
and
who?
you're right.
For the Patriots?
Yes, because if they want to do this thing where there's always threads of ties to the organization.
Yeah, I don't want that.
I know, but
I'm done with that.
You don't make the decisions.
I know I don't. I'm just saying.
That's why he's perfect.
I think they ran into that same problem with Mayo.
I don't. Mayo was a wild card, like Hail Mary.
I think if Mike Vrabel was the coach of this team this year, they might have 5 wins. They might. Maybe. I think that's even maybe.
Who's his OC?
I don't know, but
it wouldn't be AVP.
Probably wouldn't be Alex
He's been
Van
around
Pelt.
the league long enough. He'd have probably a preference on an OC. It might be Arthur Smith, who he worked with in Tennessee, who's now in Atlanta. And I'm not saying Atlanta's offense is great and they just benched their quarterback. I'm just saying I don't think AVP would be your offensive coordinator.
I thought AVP was the only good coach we had.
He's the best coach we have. I'm not sure he's a good coach.
I'm not sure he's good.
He's
either.
the best coach we have. Just like you can say Kendrick Bourne's the best receiver we have. I'm not sure he's good.
True.
He's the best we have.
I would rather a coach that's specialized in offense. If you're building it back up and you're going to sort of redo everything around Drake Maye, I don't need Mike Vrabel here. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't think I'd rather have Josh McDaniels here than Mike Vrabel
As the head coach?
Yes,
I would not.
I would rather McDaniels was the head coach. Than
I'd rather
Mike Vrabel.
Josh be the offensive coordinator.
I mean, I'd rather that too. If we're just saying whatever we want,
that's
but like
the pairing.
for head coach, that's what I'd take.
People are dreaming up a Mike Vrabel, Josh McDaniels pairing. Mike Vrabel's the head coach, oversees the defense. Josh McDaniels is the HC of the offense. I don't hate that pairing. I also think you don't risk losing Josh McDaniels. I know everybody's like, if you hire the offensive coach to be the coordinator, if he does a good job, I think Josh's days as a head coach are probably over. Right? Is that a fair assessment?
Probably, yeah.
Feels safe to say.
Probably,
unless he's the head coach of the Patriots.
Yes. Okay.
Because he tried to copy the Patriot way with the Raider way and all that kind of stuff, and that was a disaster.
Other than in New England.
Yeah.
But the point is the same. If you bring Josh McDaniels in as your OC, I don't care if he elevates to head coach at some point because Vrabel retired, whatever. But I think you could marry Josh McDaniels up with Drake Maye and feel like they're going to be together for the foreseeable future. We're not going to lose him.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't like that idea either.
It's not even so much that I don't like.
You're
the
all
idea.
in on Ben Johnson. Who else you got?
I didn't say anything about Ben Johnson.
Well, you people.
What do you mean, us people?
All you people that want an offensive coach are just
I don't
like,
think Ben Johnson's not coming
throw
here.
the bag at Ben Johnson. And when he throws it back, what do?
I'll take Bobby Slowick. I'll take Bobby Slowick in here.
Okay,
over either one of those two guys.
They've regressed a little this year.
They have, but I'd still
not quite
take
the
them.
hot shots they were last year.
They're not, but I would still take
C.J.
him.
Stroud, not quite the hot shot he was last year.
He is not, but I would still take him.
So you want a guy whose quarterback is regressing.
Sure.
Okay. No, I mean, that's fine. That's
How about Mike Vrabel, whose entire team crashed and burned 2 years ago, and then he couldn't get a job?
Sure.
I mean, we could say that about everybody who currently doesn't have a job right now. At least
we're talking about
working.
coaching the quarterback and Josh McDaniels, who they hated him in Oakland. Everybody. Maybe not Jimmy, but
Vegas,
he was aligned with Jimmy, and then everybody else hated Josh because he was aligned with Jimmy. But so would you take the Vrabel-McDaniels pairing or no? You just flat out don't like it?
I mean, I'd take it, but I wouldn't love it.
Is it like plan C?
Over what we have now.
No, absolutely.
I'd take it over what we have now.
I mean, they're adults.
But it wouldn't be my top choice. No, definitely not.
Okay.
No, definitely not. 617-779-7937. A lot of calls piling in already, so we'll get to as many as we possibly can. Drake Maye stuck up for Jerod Mayo today. We'll play that for you. And I have a crazy idea. I think the Patriots should consider shutting Drake Maye down for the rest of the year. I don't see any reason to put him back out.